Brie, are you surprised that evangelicals are going to support Trump?
No, this isn't a surprise at all. You have to keep in mind that evangelicals are scared. We just heard several politicians attack Republican candidates and call them backwards and bigoted. And so I think evangelicals are really afraid of that. Over the past year, they've seen as the Supreme Court has essentially made gay marriage legal in all 50 states. And they've watched as a court clerk, Kim Davis, has been arrested and, demonized and made a pariah in the public sphere. And they've looked at what's happened and they've seen Kim Davis and they look at her and they see that that could be them. They could be next. And I think we all know that gay rights activists aren't going to stop there now that gay marriage is essentially legal. They don't want just legal legal admiration or approval. They want moral approval as well. And they want everyone to approve of the decisions that they're making. And that's why we're seeing in this next phase of the culture war, we're seeing a battle over syntax and over words and whether or not a grown man with an identity crisis is allowed to use a restroom with little girls. So evangelicals are afraid, and they're afraid of what they're seeing in the media, and they're afraid of how they're being depicted and demonized and what kind of names they're being called. And they see Donald Trump as their savior because he's the only one who's really willing to call this whole political correctness war what it is and say that it's utter insanity.
And you think that's accurate, that the next front, if you will, on this battle isn't just tolerance, which is what liberals claim they want from conservatives, but it's forced acceptance or just a total disallowing of any conservative values in the public sphere?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we saw happen with the whole Kim Davis thing, right? Like, they could have just had another clerk approve or assign on that gay marriage certificate, but instead they were like, no, you're going to be the one to have to do this. And they arrested her and made her into this big pariah and demonized her, and kind of made fun of her a lot. So I think a lot of Christians saw Kim Davis and thought, that's what I would have done in that situation. And look at how she's being depicted. That's what would happen to me. I would be next. And I think a lot of Christians, like you talked about earlier, a lot of Christians would want to pray before a sports game, or they would want to, pray in the classroom or pray in different areas. And, those individuals are being targeted and are being told that they can't do that. And our very language and the words that we use is being attacked, and we're being told that we have to call someone a she if they want to be called that, even if they're a man, right? So I think we are having this war over syntax and language and thoughts and the ability to express yourself and say what you believe. And I think Christians have a very real understanding of that because I think we're seeing that they're being demonized and attacked first.
Right, and I think you make a good point about the syntax and the language because it's actually very interesting to study. If you look at so many of our phrases, so many of our words, they're all based in Judeo-Christian values, whether it's from the Bible, whether it's from history. So much of it is based around what our traditional values have been. So in one sense, if liberals, if progressives are trying to untie the fabric of our traditional values, then that's a good place to start because that's where it all gets ingrained to us culturally because we've heard it from the time we were born because it's in our language. But let's go back to Trump for a second because I find it very interesting. I see why evangelicals might not be looking for a pastor. They're not looking for a Governor Huckabee right now. They're looking for someone who will crush through the wall of political correctness, and that certainly seems to be Donald Trump at this time. But